Zelensky says Ukraine controls over 1,250 square kilometers in Russia's Kursk region.
Construction of a military campus expected to house 5,000 German soldiers has begun in Lithuania.
Ukraine controls over 1,250 square kilometers in Russia's Kursk region. That is according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He adds that troops captured the largest number of Russian prisoners in a single operation, making it one of Kyiv's largest efforts to liberate Ukrainians from Russian captivity.
Наші активні захисні дії по той бік кордону та нездатність Путіна уберегти його територію від таких наших захисних дій дуже красномовні. Наш активний превентивний захист є найбільш ефективною протидією російському терору і забезпеченням реального ускладнення ситуації для держави-агресора.
84 temporary accommodation centers opened in the Kursk region as Russian authorities say more than 121,000 civilians were evacuated since the start of the incursion. On Sunday, the Ukrainian president addressed the aim of the incursion into Kursk for the first time, which is to create a buffer zone to prevent further attacks by Moscow across the border. Zelensky says his troops would not have to physically enter Russian territories, particularly the Kursk region, if Ukraine partners would lift the restriction on the use of long-range weapons.
At least one person was killed and 6 people are missing after a luxury superyacht carrying tourists capsized and sank off the coast of Sicily in bad weather. 15 people were rescued initially and taken to shore at Porticello, where 8 are in the hospital. Amongst the survivors was a 1-year-old child.
Allora, alle 3:30 di stamattina siamo scesi in barca, mentre che io aspettavo i marinai per andare a fare una battuta di pesca. Ho visto questi lampi e il cielo non mi piaceva e ci siamo fermati dentro i banchini, aspettando che passava questa perturbazione. Verso 4:05 ha colpito il paese di Porticello, la tromba marina. E ho messo tanta paura dentro il porto. La barca si è messa sopra un fianco, all'interno della banchina.
The British-flagged 56-metre sailboat had a crew of 10 people and was carrying 12 passengers, with British, American and Canadian nationalities, according to the Italian Coast Guard. A helicopter and rescue boats from Italian emergency services were at the scene searching for the missing people. Experienced deep-sea divers were also there to help in the search. Local media said a fierce storm had battered the area overnight, but skies were clear and seas calm by the time the search was underway.
Bulgarian President Rumen Radev has rejected Prime Minister-designate Gorica Grantcharova-Kozareva's proposal for a new caretaker cabinet. Her current plans would see Karlin Stoyanov retain his position as Interior Minister, something the President has said he won't allow because it would not guarantee the holding of fair elections.
Ситуация, аз обявявам и тук пред медиите, че няма да подпиша указ за назначаване на така предложеното ми правителство и съответно вашият ангажимент по съставянето на такова приключи.
The current caretaker government of Dimitar Glavchev will now remain in power until the parliament presents a new short list of potential prime ministers. President Radev's decision has set a precedent in Bulgaria, but constitutionalists are divided on whether the issue is constitutional or political.
Кризата не е конституционна, кризата е политическа и това се дължи на неспособността на Народното събрание да попълни списъка, който беше предвиден в конституционния текст и между които президента да избира. Първата стъпка е да бъде назначено служебно правителство, а втората стъпка е да бъдат насрочени избори.
Kisilova says the date for the next elections could be around the month of December.
Heavy rains have lashed Alpine regions of Austria, leaving parts of the capital Vienna underwater. Local media say downpours have caused severe damage in parts of the country and disrupted road and rail transport. National broadcaster ORF said that a woman was dragged under a bus by the force of flooding in the Derbling area in the north of Vienna and was taken to hospital in a critical condition. The amount of rain to fall on Vienna is the highest since records began more than 150 years ago. Meanwhile, cleanup operations in St. Anton continue with trucks and excavators working to remove the mud and gravel from the road and the village. The A road to Arlberg remains closed and a decision on when to reopen it will be taken on Monday.
Geht. Derzeit sind wir in St. Anton unten natürlich voll mit Maschinen, mit Backern, mit LKW unterwegs und wenn Verkehr natürlich da kommt, das behindert uns natürlich unglaublich. Jetzt müssen wir erst schauen, wie wir da die Situation jetzt unten einmal halbwegs lösen, aber die Entscheidung wird heute Nachmittag einmal fallen.
St. Anton's mayor says the cleanup operation will take weeks to complete and volunteers will help clean houses in the village.
A manhunt is underway for a masked man who stabbed an 11-year-old boy to death while the child was playing football with his friends. The man attacked 3 children at a sports centre, killing one of them and then fleeing. Spanish police have launched a search and capture operation involving a dozen patrols and a helicopter to locate the still-at-large attacker. Relatives, children and residents of the town gathered for a minute of silence in tribute to the child who was killed.
China has responded to concerns raised by EU businesses over its revised anti-espionage law, which was broadened to include the transfer of so-called work secrets in February of this year. The revised law includes further restrictions on the transfer of data to other parties, but remains vague as to what kind of data is considered a national security threat by China's government. Concern surrounding the law is particularly prevalent in the pharmaceutical industry, as foreign businesses are afraid of making any attempts to certify manufacturing sites in China. The German Medicines Manufacturers Association recently said many of their inspectors refused to visit and inspect production sites in China over fears of arrest for spying under the law. But China says it's committed to providing foreign business with a market-orientated and law-based environment.
你提到中国的反间谍法，这部法律针对的是极少数危害中国国家安全的间谍行为，而不是正常的经贸投资活动。所以，相关企业只要合法经营，人员能够依法行事，就没有必要感到担心。
China is a major supplier of drugs to the EU, and these new restrictions risk exacerbating the disruption of supply chains.
Construction of a military base dedicated to a German brigade at the Rudninkai training ground started in Lithuania. Following the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Vilnius and Berlin agreed to the permanent deployment of a German brigade in Lithuania. Officials agreed for most of the soldiers to be stationed in the Lithuanian region of Rudninkai, with Lithuania promising to prepare the necessary infrastructure. During the initial stage of construction, crucial infrastructure for the future military town will be built. The brigade is expected to consist of around 5,000 soldiers. So far, Lithuania estimated that a third of them will come with their families. Berlin intends to keep a military brigade fully stationed in Lithuania until 2027. The development of a town with essential facilities to accommodate them is also underway as part of the project.
An earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.0 has struck off the far eastern coast of Russia near a major naval base. The earthquake, at a depth of 6 kilometers, triggered the eruption of 2 volcanoes in the Kuril Islands on Sunday. The U.S. Pacific Tsunami Warning Center initially warned that hazardous tsunami waves were possible for coast within 480 kilometers of the epicenter. There have been no reports of any casualties.
Poland's largest satellite, Eagle Eye, was successfully launched into orbit. The historical send-off brings Polish space science and technology to its peak. Tomasz Barsinski works at the Space Research Center of the Polish Academy of Sciences, and he speaks proudly of the Polish-designed satellite.
To jest polska technologia, na pewno. Jest to zaprojektowane w Polsce od zera, od kartki papieru, natomiast nie wszystkie komponenty są dostępne na polskim rynku. Na przykład Polska nie wytwarza niestety mikroprocesorów.
But the mission facilitated by SpaceX left from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The project, which kicked off in April 2020, will provide researchers with high-resolution pictures of the Earth. The Mission Control Center is located in Warsaw, and according to plans, the mission will last for minimum 1 year on Earth's lower orbit.
Stargazers and photographers gather across the globe to catch a glimpse of the rare blue supermoon. A supermoon is used to describe when the full moon is at its closest point to Earth. Because of this close proximity, the moon appears to be 14% larger and 30% brighter compared to when it's at its farthest distance. The lunar spectacle is especially rare as according to NASA it is also a blue moon, which happens every 2 to 3 years. Worried that you missed it? Well, according to NASA, the blue supermoon can be seen through early Wednesday morning. August supermoon is the first of 4 lunar spectacles. The next supermoon will be on the night of September 18th, followed by October 17th, and the final supermoon will round out the year on November 15th.